All right, hello everyone. I'm back again with another video, and this video is part two in regards to the lesson that I posted on my YouTube channel um, regarding interpreting numerical expressions and using order of operation to evaluate and then solve those types of problems. So now, this will be a practice that we're going to do. I'm going to do 6 problems with you guys, and I'm going to send this this worksheet document over to you guys so that you can do the rest of the problems on your own, and then we can talk about it in our Friday meeting. All right, so if you have any questions, be sure you put them in the comments so that I can respond and see how you guys are doing with these problems. So now we have to rewrite these number sentences. A number sentence is basically a sentence written in words to represent a numerical expression. So what we're going to do is take these number sentences and write them as a numerical expression. We're not going to evaluate just yet. The next slide, we will be actually working through the certain order of using order of operation to work through and evaluate these numerical expressions. So number 1 goes like this. It says, find the sum of 6 and 4 and then take away 2. So let's take a look at a couple things here. We have the word sum of, we have and, we have and then we have take away. So all of those are clue words that helps us understand exactly what operation we're doing. So sum, we know, is the answer to an addition problem. So that means the sum of 6 and 4, that means that we're going to be adding 6 and 4, right? And in order to be able to take away and then take away 2, we understand that we have to do that first. So we have to think about how do we write a numerical expression that would show that we have to do something first before we move to the next step. Well, we use what we think, that just happened. We use what we call PEMDAS. Sorry, it's kind of hard to write on this this board here. But anyway, so we have PEMDAS, right? So PEMDAS is the acronym that we use to help us remember the order of operation. P stands for parentheses first, and then we look at to see if we have any exponents, because if we did, we would solve those. And then we will solve the multiplication problem, the multiplication part of the equation. And then we would do division, addition, and subtraction. So if you remember, we learned and talked about this a lot this year, in the beginning of this year. And that's what we use to evaluate a numerical expression. So now we're going to be thinking about that. Now we're going to do some actual evaluating using PEMDAS, but right now we're just going to keep that in mind, because as we're putting these number sentences in numerical expressions, we have to think about, okay, what would come first? Well, if I know what will come first, that lets me know I need to put that in parentheses, because when I do go to evaluate, those parentheses would then tell me that is what I'm doing first. So now let's go back to number 1 and talk about it a little bit more. So it says sum of 6 and 4. So and then take away 2. So if I told you to clean your room and then wash the dishes, that and then part lets you know that, oh, she wants me to clean my room first and then wash the dishes, meaning that will be the next step. So in this case, you want to find the sum of 6 and 4 first, and then take away 2. So take away 2 tells us what? When we see the words take away, that means we're subtracting, right? So that equation, that numerical expression would look like this. 6 plus parentheses, 6 plus 4, close parentheses, minus 2. So that those parentheses tells me that I have to add 6 plus 4 first, and then I would take away or minus or subtract 2, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to skip number 2 for now, because I have another slide that kind of explains a little bit about understanding what that less than means, so that that's not confusing. So now let's go into number 3. Number 3 says find the product of 3 and 2 and then take away 5. So again, there's that and then part, right? So when we look at this, there's a couple words that stand out: product and then take away, right? Those are the words that tell us really what we're doing here. So we have to find the product of 3 and 2 first, and then we take away or minus or subtract 5. What does product mean? Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So that lets me know that I'm going to be multiplying 3 and 2, because it's saying the product of 3 and 2. So that means the answer to multiplying 3 by 2. So that would look like that. 3 times 2 in parentheses, and then take away 5. So I would do 3 times 2 first, because it's in parentheses, and according to order of operation, I know that parentheses comes first, and that is telling me to do that first, and then take away 5. All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4 says find 6 times as many as 2 divided by 6. So let's look at the key words there. The key words are times, okay, and then divided by, right? So then if I know that times means multiplication, then and divided by means to divide, then I need to first find what 2 divided by 6 is. And once I find 2 divided by 6, I times that by 6, because I understand that that would be, it showed that it's 6 times as many as whatever the answer would be for 2 divided by 6. So I have to do 2 divided by 6 first, right? And that will be parentheses, in parentheses, and then times that by 6, because whatever my answer is 6 times as many as the answer to 2 divided by 6, okay? Now let's look at number 5. Number 5 says subtract the quotient of 8 divided by 7 from 9. So again, we are dealing with words that let us know what we need to do first. So quotient of 8 divided by 7 means that we're looking for, we need the answer to what 8 divided by 7 is, okay? Because quotient is the answer to a division problem. So I would then put 8 divided by 7 in parentheses, okay? And then whatever that is, I would subtract it from 9. So in this case, 9 would come first because, or 9, we wouldn't do 9 first, but when we write the numerical expression, we write 9 minus the answer or the quotient of, which means I would put that in parentheses because I have to do that first. And when I go into evaluating this problem, the quotient of 8 divided by 7. So that would look like that: 9 minus 8, parentheses, 8 divided by 7, close parentheses. Oops. All right, and number 6, you want to divide 21 by the difference between 18 and 9. So we need to find out what the difference between 18 and 9, so I can then say 21 divided by parentheses 8 minus 9, close parentheses. Okay, so now what I would like you guys to do is work on the rest of those problems. Let's take a look at number 2 before I move on. Okay, let me clear this out. I'm going to send that worksheet to you guys so that you can have more practice problems to write as numerical expressions, okay? Oops. Let's see if I can do this the right way. And then I'm going to clear all of that. All right, perfect. So now, so that number 2, it said find 1/2 5 less than 10. Okay, so we're going to focus on let's not focus right now on the find half. I'm sorry. Let's not focus on the half of yet. Let's not ignore it, but let's not focus on that right yet. I want you guys to understand exactly what 5 less than 10 is. So we're going to focus on that. And what does that mean? 5 less than 10. So say, for example, Jennifer. Oh my goodness, Jennifer. Oh, that's a nice name. I wonder where they came up with that from. Anyway, Jennifer has 10 pieces of candy, right? 10 pieces of candy Jennifer has. Okay, let's put the candy there. Ah, got some sugar candy, the candy that rots your teeth out. Nice. All right, so we have 10 pieces of candy here. Okay, so Jennifer's friend, Mr. Ontario. Oh my goodness, that's another cool name. Ontario. Sounds familiar. Anyway, so Ontario has 5 less than 10. Ontario has 5 less than the 10 pieces of candy that Jennifer has, right? So how many pieces did Ontario have? So if we understand that less than means subtract, right? But does that mean 5 minus 10? No, it doesn't. So if Ontario had 5 less than 10, that would mean we would have 10 pieces of candy and we need 5 less than that, so that we would take away 5, because we know that 5 less than, it means we're going to take away 5. So I have 10 pieces of candy and Ontario would then have 5 less than that. So that means I would take away 5 and that would leave Mr. Ontario with how many? 5, right? Because we understand that 10 minus 5 is 5, or 5 less than 10 is 5. Okay. So how will we write that then as a numerical expression? Jennifer, like I just said, had 10 and Ontario had 5 less than that. So less means take away or subtract. So we would write the numerical expression as 10 minus 5. And we have to understand that we got to do that first, because in order, we have to find out what 10 less than 5 is. We have to find, I'm sorry, what 5 less than 10 is. We have to do that subtraction in order to then make half of it. And we know that half of something is dividing it into 2 pieces. So then I can either write it as parenthesis 10 minus 5, close parenthesis, divided by 2. Or I can say parentheses 10 minus 5 divided by half, or divided into half, right? So those are 2 ways that I could write that, with showing how we could write half as a 2 or half as a fraction, whichever. And I'm using my / here for my division, because I don't have a division button on my computer, obviously. So that / also represents division, okay? So hopefully that kind of clears up the misunderstanding that I see that some students have with understanding what that less than means, and how we have to make sure that we read it and interpret it in a way that really shows that I have something and then I'm taking away from those pieces that I have. If you did 5, if you actually wrote it as 5 minus 10, then it would be a negative number. And not to say that negative numbers are wrong, or indicators that you did something wrong, because when you get into 6th grade, you're going to be dealing with negatives a lot more. But in this case, we have to make sure we're reading and interpreting this correctly. All right. So if you have any questions about that, writing a number sentence in interpreting it to write a numerical expression, then put your questions down in the comments, or you can write your questions down so that we can be able to talk more about this in our meeting on Friday. So let's move on to order of operation, okay? To actually starting to go into evaluating certain problems like this. And we go into evaluating these problems using PEMDAS. PEMDAS is an acronym that we use, like I said before, to help us remember the order in which we operate on these problems or evaluate these problems. So PEMDAS, again, it means parentheses. E means exponents. We touched on exponents a little bit in class, but you won't really dive into using exponents in numerical equations until 6th grade. So you won't see any exponents in these particular problems, but when you move on to the next level of order of operation, you will be practicing using exponents, and understanding that that comes as a second step after parentheses is still very important. All right, and then after exponents would be multiplication, and then division, addition, and subtraction. Now make sure you understand how multiplication and division and addition and subtraction work together. They're like best friends. And what they do is they allow whichever one is in front of them to go first, right? So if I have a problem like, have a problem like this one here, 24 divided by 6 times 2. So I have a multiplication and a division part of this problem in here. So in this case, multiplication is supposed to come first based on order of operation, but multiplication is nice and it likes, and it's division's best friend. So it's like, hey, you know what? Division, you're in front of me, so I'll let you go first, okay? And so when we see these two, we do it from left to right. So whichever one comes first in line, only with the multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, that one, the one that may be first on order of operation will allow that one to come first if it's first in line. So multiplication is looking at division. It's like, yeah, you're ahead of me, so I'll let you go first this time. And so that's how we look at that. And I'll practice that in just a moment, okay? But it's important to understand that it's based on whichever one comes first in your problem when you're left with a division and a multiplication and division or addition and subtraction. So let's look at this one. 4 plus 8 divided by 2. So we look and say, okay, is there any parentheses? Nope, no parentheses, so we don't have to worry about that. Is there any exponents? Nope, no exponents, so we cross that off. And is there any multiplication? Nope, no multiplication, so we keep it moving. And is there a division? That's what would come next in our order of operation. So I look down here. Oh, yes, I do have a division problem right here, and it says 8 divided by 2. So that means I would do this first because it comes next in my order of operation after I have checked off everything else. So I would do that first. 8 divided by, and there's my division symbol again. 8 divided by 2 equals 4, okay? So I can't forget about my addition part right here. So I have to bring that down and say 4 plus 4 then gives me 8, okay? And that's how we would go about evaluating a numerical expression. So let's take a look at this one. Now, again, this is the one that has the multiplication saying, hey, division, you're my best friend. So you can go ahead and go first, okay? And even though multiplication comes next before division in our order of operation, multiplication is nice enough to let division go first since it's first in line in this particular numerical expression problem. So I'll look and start from the beginning, parentheses, nope, no parentheses, exponents, nope, no exponents, multiplication. It does have a multiplication first, but problem, but what is first? Division is. So I'm gonna do my division first because multiplication is nice enough to let the division go first. So 24 divided by 6 equals 4. And then now I can do multiplication next, which will give me 4 times 2. Oh, did I not write the problem there? Sorry, I didn't write the answer in. But 4 times 2 would equal what? It would equal 8. So that would be the final answer to this problem. Okay. Now, again, here we go. We got parentheses in this one. So we have to know that parentheses comes first, right? So I would do my 2 plus 6 first, which gives me 8. And then I would multiply that 4 by 8. And then that would give me my final answer of 32. Okay. Now, our next problem would be 5. We're looking at here, does this have any parentheses? No, so we can move on to the next step. Does it have exponents? No, so we can move on to the next step. Does it have multiplication? Yes, and just so happen in this one, multiplication is actually first. So we can just move forward with how we would normally do it. So multiplication comes first, in which I would say 8 times 5, that gives me 40. And then I go to the next step, which is division, and I would divide 40 by 10, and my final answer would then be 4. Okay. So this one has parentheses again in it, and it says that the problem is 7 minus, and we would say that the quotient of 6 and 2. So then I would need to know what 6 divided by 2 is first. That's in parentheses. So then I would say 6 divided by 2 equals 3. And then I would bring my 7 down and say, okay, 7 minus 3. And that will give me my final answer of 4. Okay. And for the final problem, we have 30. We have division first this time, and then multiplication. So multiplication again is saying, hey, your first division, even though I know I come first in the order of operation, you're in front of me in this particular equation. So I'm going to allow you to go ahead and be evaluated first. So I would go down and I would say, do I have any parentheses? No. Do I have exponents? No. But I do have multiplication. However, multiplication has said that division can go first since it's first in line in this particular numerical expression. So I would then skip multiplication and go on to division. So I would say 30 divided by 10 equals 3. And then now I can go ahead and multiply 3 by 6, which would then give me the final answer of 18. Okay. So now, that is our practice for today. Again, what I'll do is I'll send you a couple problems that will allow you to practice this independently using your order of operation as well as your skills on numeric writing word sentences or number sentences and interpreted them into numerical expressions. So I'll send you over some practice problems to do, and we will talk about them and perhaps go over a couple of them and answer any of your questions that you have on writing numerical expressions and using order of operation to evaluate those expressions. If you have any questions, again, make sure you leave them in the comments section, or you can contact me directly. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.